At this point, I hope you agree with me that other people are tremendously important in your plan for success. I want to take that concept one step further now and give you a basic rule for winning success. Mark this in your mind and remember it. Success depends on the support of other people. Let me repeat it. Success depends on the support of other people. The only hurdle between you and what you want is the support of other people. Look at it this way. A manager depends on people to carry out his instructions. If they don't, the company president will fire the manager, not the employees. A salesman depends on people to buy his product. If they don't, the salesman's out of a job. A football coach depends on his players to carry out his game plan. A politician depends on voters to elect him. A writer depends on people to read what he writes. And remember, a person either supports you willingly or not at all. You can't force people to support you. So the logical question now is this: what must I do to get people to support me? The answer, wrapped up in one phrase, is think right toward people. Think right toward people, and they will like you and support you. Now let's find out exactly what that means.
Hundreds of times every day, there's a similar scene repeated in businesses across America. A committee meets in session to consider people for promotions, for new jobs, or for special honors. A name is placed before the group, and the chairperson asks, "What's your feeling about so-and-so?" And comments come forth. "She's a good person. People speak highly of her. I think we should investigate this guy pretty carefully. He doesn't seem to get along too well with people." The pattern holds true again and again. The human factor is most often the first thing mentioned, and in an overwhelmingly large number of cases, the likability factor is given far more weight than the technical factor. Is this unfair or unprofessional? No. If a person doesn't get along with people, that person can't be expected to draw maximum effectiveness in a supervisory or executive position. Remember, the higher you go in any organization, the more your job depends on your people skills, and the less it depends on your technical abilities. And mark this point well. A person is not pulled up to a higher position by the people above him or her. Rather, that person is lifted to the higher position by the people who support them, who work with them and for them. We're lifted to higher levels by those who know us, like us, and respect us. Every friend you make lifts you one notch higher. And on top of that, being likable makes you lighter to lift. Successful people follow a plan for liking people. People who reach the top don't spend much time discussing the techniques that got them there, but you'd be surprised how many really successful people have a clear, definite, even written plan for liking people. Lyndon Johnson had such a plan. Long before he became president, as part of the process that developed his amazing powers of persuasion, Johnson developed his own 10-point formula for success. These are his rules, which you'll also find in your booklet. First, learn to remember names. Second, be a comfortable person so there's no strain in being with you. Third, acquire the quality of being relaxed and easygoing so things don't ruffle you much. Fourth, don't be egotistical. Guard against the impression that you know it all. Fifth, cultivate the quality of being interested so people will get something of value from their association with you. Sixth, study to get the scratchy elements out of your personality, even those of which you may be unconscious. Seventh, sincerely attempt to heal every misunderstanding you have had or now have. Drain off your grievances. Eighth, practice liking people until you learn to do so genuinely. Ninth, never miss an opportunity to say a word of congratulation upon anyone's achievement or express sympathy in times of sorrow or disappointment. And 10th, give spiritual strength to people, and they will give genuine affection in return. Living these 10 simple but powerful like people rules made Lyndon Johnson easier to vote for, easier to support in Congress. Living these rules made President Johnson easier to lift, Listen to those rules again, or read them over in your booklet. Notice that there's no get-even philosophy in there. There's nothing about being superior to people, nothing vindictive, nothing self-aggrandizing. Big people, those on top in industry, the arts, science, and politics, are human and warm. They specialize in being likable.
One of the things we often tell ourselves in our business or personal relationships is, let the other person make the first move. Let him call me, or let her speak first. It's easier, most of the time, to let things slide that way, but that isn't thinking right toward people. Take the initiative in building friendships. Leaders always do. The next time you're in a group of people, take note of something very significant. The most important person is the one person most active in introducing himself or herself. It's always the big person who walks up to you, offers his or her hand, and says, "Hello, my name is so-and-so." Think about this for a moment, and you'll realize the reason that person is important is because he or she works at building friendships. A friend of mine says, "I may not be very important to him, but he's very important to me. That's why I've got to get to know him." Make that a personal policy. Introduce yourself to other people at every opportunity. That is thinking right toward people. Have you ever noticed how people freeze when they're waiting for elevators? Unless they're with someone they know, most folks never say anything to the person beside them. One week I resolved to do some experimenting. I decided to say something to every stranger who was waiting beside me. I kept track of people's reactions for 25 consecutive times. And for 25 consecutive times, I got back a positive, friendly response. And there's a big payoff here. When you make a pleasant remark to a stranger, you make that person feel 1 degree better. This makes you feel better and helps you relax. Every time you say something pleasant to another person, you compensate yourself. It's like warming up your car on a cold morning.
Here are 6 guaranteed ways to win friends by exercising a little initiative. Introduce yourself to others at every opportunity. At parties, at meetings, on airplanes, at work, everywhere. Be sure the other person gets your name straight. And be sure you pronounce the other person's name the way they pronounce it. Write down the other person's name. Be sure you've spelled it correctly. If possible, get their address and telephone number too. Drop a personal note or make a phone call to the new friends you feel you want to know better. This is very important. Most successful people follow through on new friends with a letter or a phone call. Last but not least, say pleasant things to strangers. It warms you up and gets you ready for tasks ahead.
Putting these 6 rules to work is really thinking right toward people. You can be sure that this is not the way the average person thinks. Mr. or Miss Average never takes the initiative in making introductions. He or she waits for the other person to introduce himself first, something that usually never happens, and so it's one more opportunity lost. So take the initiative. Be like the successful people in this world. Go out of your way to meet people, and don't be timid. Don't be afraid to be unusual. Find out who the other person is and make sure they know who you are.
In your mind, there's a kind of mental broadcasting station. This station transmits messages to you on 2 equally powerful channels, Channel P for positive and Channel N for negative. Now, suppose that today your boss, Mr. Jacobs, called you into his office and reviewed your work with you. He complimented you on your work, but he also made some specific suggestions on how you can do it better. Tonight, it's only natural for you to recall this incident and do some thinking about it. If you tune into Channel N, the negative one, the announcer will be saying something like this. This item just in. In a major meeting today, your boss, Ralph Jacobs, attempted to undermine your position in the firm and criticized your work severely. This confirms the opinions of fellow workers such as Joe Harrison, whose warnings about Jacobs you have previously ignored. High officials of your mental administration are meeting to consider proper action. And at this time, a direct confrontation with Jacobs is regarded as the only possible solution to this crisis. But now, tune in to Channel P, the positive one, and the announcer will say something along these lines. On a bright note today, a highly constructive meeting was held with your supervisor, Ralph Jacobs. Commenting on the effectiveness of your work and your value to the firm, Jacobs also offered several suggestions for improving output in key areas. The tone of the meeting was upbeat and optimistic and bodes well for your future with the organization. This supports the statements of other employees like Bill Withers, who in the past has recommended Jacobs as a concerned and helpful administrator. In this case, if you listen to Channel N, you're almost certain to make some very bad and perhaps fatal mistakes in your relationship with your superior. But if you tune in to Channel P, you are certain to benefit from your boss's suggestions. And at the same time, you'll draw yourself closer to him. You'll appreciate that. Bear in mind that the longer you stay tuned to either Channel P or Channel N, the more interested you become and the harder it is to switch channels. This is true because one thought, positive or negative, sets off a whole chain reaction of similar thoughts. For example, you might start off with a simple, minor, negative thought about a person's accent. And before you know it, you're thinking negatively about such unrelated topics as his political and religious beliefs, his personal habits, maybe even the car he drives. And thinking this way most assuredly won't get you where you want to go. Now, you own that broadcasting station, so manage it to your own advantage. When your thoughts turn to people, make sure Channel P, for positive, is the station you're listening to. If Channel N cuts in, say stop, and then switch channels. To make the switch, all you have to do is think of one positive quality about the person in question. Once you do that, the chain reaction is set into motion, and you'll be back on the right track. Now, when you're alone, you and only you can control which channel you're listening to. But remember, most people don't understand the concepts of thinking right towards people. So it's very common for someone to come rushing up to you just aching to say something negative about someone you both know. A coworker wants to tell you about the objectionable qualities of another employee. A neighbor wants to let you know about the domestic problems of another neighbor. But thoughts breed similar thoughts. So there's a real danger that if you listen to negative comments about another person, you too will get negative about that person. In fact, if you're not on your guard, you may find yourself adding fuel to the fire. And these things have a way of backfiring. The negative seeds you sow will reap a negative harvest, just as surely as the positive seeds you sow will reap a positive harvest. There are two ways to keep others from switching us to Channel N. One way is to quickly and quietly switch topics with a remark like, "Excuse me, John, but while I think of it, I've been meaning to ask you something." And another is to excuse yourself from the situation. "Sorry, John, I'm late for a meeting, if you'll excuse me." Make a forceful promise to yourself. Refuse to let others prejudice your thinking. Stay tuned to Channel P.
Now, the real test for thinking right toward people comes when things don't go exactly the way we want. How do you think when you've been passed up for a promotion, or gotten a bad evaluation, or don't make a sale, or when you're criticized for the job you've done? Remember this key fact. How you think when you lose determines how long it will be until you win. I want to dwell for a moment on the idea of defeat and setbacks. Learning to handle adversity is a key factor in your success plan. No one, absolutely no one, goes through life without setbacks. The secret is to learn from your mistakes and spend as little time as possible lamenting about them. When a setback hits us personally, our first impulse is usually to become emotionally upset, often so upset that we fail to learn the lesson that every defeat contains.
Everyone knows the often quoted fact that air travel is the safest form of long-distance transportation. But we also all know that air accidents do occur. But the reaction to these tragedies by the airlines and by the Federal Aviation Administration is to learn from them. A team of experts pieces together the causes of the accident, and months of intensive study are devoted to finding solutions to any mistakes that may have occurred, so similar accidents will never happen again. The result is that even though more and more flights are going into more and more airports, the safety record of the airlines continually gets better. There are countless examples in business and in people's personal lives of the benefits of this approach to setbacks. Doctors use setbacks to pave the way to better health and longer life. David Schwartz knows a sales executive who devotes one entire sales meeting every month to helping his people discover why they lost important sales. The lost sale is reconstructed and carefully examined. In this way, the salespeople learn how to avoid losing similar sales in the future.
The message is clear. Before discouragement sets in, before your negative channel takes over, examine your situation. Look at the setback as objectively as you can. Learn from your mistakes. Have the courage to face your shortcomings and the resolve to do something about them. Make up your mind to salvage something from every setback.
It's not easy to close out your emotions when things aren't going well. But remember, defeat is a state of mind. One of the best tools to use against the negative emotions and thoughts that accompany setbacks is persistence. If you persevere and continue to believe in yourself, continue to think big, you can overcome any obstacle. Thomas Edison is credited with being one of America's most persistent scientists and inventors. He conducted literally thousands of experiments before he perfected the electric light bulb. He tried out virtually every substance known to science before he hit on the one that would work for his light bulb's filaments. Now note this well. Edison combined persistence with experimentation. He persisted in his goal to develop a working electric light, but he made that persistence pay off by blending it with experiments. When one idea failed to bear fruit, he backed off, examined his setback, and tried again with something different. Persistence blended with experimentation guarantees success. Stay with your goal. Don't waver from it. But don't beat your head against the wall. If you aren't getting results, try a new approach. Here are a couple of suggestions for developing a greater power of experimentation. First, tell yourself there is a way. Thoughts are magnetic. As soon as you tell yourself, I'm beaten, then negative thoughts are attracted, and each of these helps to convince you that you're whipped. Believe instead that there is a way to solve any problem. Then positive thoughts will rush into your mind to help you find the solution. It's the belief that there is a way that's important. Second, learn to back off and start fresh. We often stay so close to a problem for so long that we can't see new solutions or new approaches. When you hit a snag, or you feel stuck, back off. Go out of town for the weekend. Go to the beach. Take a hike in the mountains. Do something to get your body and mind completely away from the problem at hand. Many successful people use this technique to clear their minds, which may have become bogged down in minute details. Then, after a short break, they return to the problem with new ideas, new thoughts, but with the same basic belief: there is a way. Remember, there's a good side to any situation. Find that good side and conquer defeat. Now let's sum up the ideas and techniques of thinking right towards people and turning defeat into victory. First, make yourself lighter to lift. Practice being the kind of person that people like. This wins their support and puts fuel in your success-building program. Take the initiative in building friendships. Introduce yourself to other people at every opportunity. Drop a personal note to new friends that you want to get to know better. Accept human differences and limitations. Don't expect anyone to be perfect. Remember that the other person has a right to be different. Don't try to reform them. Tune in to Channel P, the Positive Thought Station. Find qualities to like and admire in a person, not things to dislike. Don't let other people prejudice your thoughts towards anyone. Think positive thoughts, and you'll get positive results. Don't blame others when you receive a setback. Remember, how you think when you lose determines how long it will be until you win. Try to salvage something from every defeat by blending persistence with experimentation. Research each setback and find out what went wrong. Stay with your goal, but don't beat your head against a stone wall. Try new approaches. Remember, there is a good side in every situation. Find it, and you'll turn defeat into victory.
Let me remind you again of a very, very important success principle. You are not pulled to high levels of success. Rather, you are lifted to success by people working beside you and below you. Achieving high-level success requires the support and cooperation of others. And gaining this support and cooperation requires leadership ability. Success and the ability to lead others, that is, getting them to do things they wouldn't do if they were not led, go hand in hand. At this point, we want to master 4 special leadership rules that can cause other people to do things for you in the executive suite, in business, in social clubs, in the home, anywhere you find people. These 4 leadership rules are: first, trade minds with the people you want to influence. Second, always think, what is the human way to handle this? Third, think progress, believe in progress, and push for progress. And fourth, take time out to confer with yourself. Practicing these rules produces results. Putting them to use in everyday situations takes the mystery out of that gold-plated word, leadership. Now let's see how you can put these principles to work.
Leadership rule number 1 is trade minds with people you want to influence. Trading minds is a magic way to get others, friends, associates, customers, employees, to act the way that you want them to act. To illustrate exactly what this means, let's look at the case of Joan, an intelligent, well-educated woman in her mid-20s who recently graduated from college. Joan landed a job as an assistant buyer for a chain of discount clothing stores. She came highly recommended, and she clearly had the ambition, the talent, the enthusiasm, and the intelligence for the job. But she only lasted 6 months, and then went into another line of work. Alice was Joan's buyer on this job, and Alice can explain why Joan didn't work out.
You know, when I first hired Joan, she was smart as a whip, and I knew that. But after a month or so, I discovered that there were some problems. We cater to a clientele that's lower middle income clientele, and Joan was from a well-to-do family. Joan was used to buying quality, not quantity. What I discovered was that she was buying merchandise that just wouldn't sell in our department, in our store. I spoke to her about it a number of times, and she would always say, I love this style. I think it's just terrific. If I like it, it's going to sell. And so after a while, I knew it just wasn't going to work out because she didn't understand the clientele we were dealing with. She couldn't look at the merchandise through their eyes. You know, she had different expectations, and in fact, the merchandise that she bought just wasn't selling. It wasn't suitable.
The point is simply this. To get others to do what you want them to do, you have to see things through their eyes. That's trading minds. And when you do it, the secret of how to influence other people effectively becomes apparent. Trading minds with the customer lets the salesperson anticipate how prospects will react to their presentation before they give it. Trading minds with the audience lets the speaker design a more interesting, harder-hitting talk. Trading minds with employees helps the supervisor provide more effective, better-received instructions. Here are some exercises you can conduct to develop your power to trade minds with people you want to influence. If you're giving someone work instructions, ask yourself, looking at this from the viewpoint of someone who's new to this, have I made myself clear? When you're talking on the telephone, ask yourself, if I were the other person in this conversation, what would I think of my telephone voice and manners? Think about giving orders and ask yourself, Would I like to carry out orders if they were given to me the way I give them to others? Remember, to put the trading minds principle to work for you, first consider the other person's situation. Put yourself in their shoes. And then ask yourself the question, if I were in this person's situation, how would I react to this? Finally, take the action that would move you if you were the other person.
Leadership rule number 2 is train yourself to think, what is the human way to handle this? I think I can best illustrate what this means through another example. I've got a good friend named Bob who's a multimillionaire. Bob came up the hard way with a hit or miss sort of education and no money to start out with. Over a period of years, Bob took an upholstery shop that he started in his garage and turned it into a furniture manufacturing plant with 500 employees. Now, I stated that Bob's a multimillionaire, but his real wealth is in other matters. He's rich in friends, he's rich in contentment, he's rich in satisfaction. I've always known him as a person with a genuine desire to help other people. And he's a specialist in treating people the way human beings like to be treated.
I don't think you'd find anybody who'd say I'm a softie or an easy touch. I just run a business. When something isn't going right, I just fix it. But it's the way I fix it that's important. If an employee is doing something wrong, I'm doubly careful not to hurt their feelings or make them feel small or embarrassed. I talk to them privately, never where others can overhear their conversation. I always start by praising them for what they're doing well. I point out the one thing at the moment that they could do better, and I help them find ways to do it better. Now, I've found that this procedure works because when I do it this way, people thank me, and I've found that's exactly the way they like it. When they walk out of my office, they've been reminded that they're not only pretty good, they can even be better. You know, I've been betting on people all my life, and the better I treat them, the more good things happen to me. I honestly don't plan it that way. It's just the way it works out.
Here are 2 ways to use the Be Human approach to make you a better leader. First, each time you face a difficult matter involving people, ask yourself, what is the human way to handle this? Ponder this question when there's a disagreement among your subordinates or when an employee creates a problem. Remember Bob's formula for helping people correct their mistakes. Avoid sarcasm. Avoid being cynical. Don't take people down a peg or two. You don't profit from putting people in their place. The second way to use this Be Human approach is to let your actions show that you put people first. Show genuine interest in your subordinates' off-the-job accomplishments. Treat everyone with dignity. The more interest you show in a person, the more that person will produce for you. And that production is what carries you forward to greater and greater success. Praise your support personnel to your supervisor. Put in plugs for them at every opportunity. Their loyalty to you will grow. Praise them for their cooperation, for every extra effort they put forth. Praise is the single greatest incentive that you can give people, and it costs you nothing. So be human. Rub people the right way.
Leadership rule number 3 revolves around the key word progress. Think progress, believe in progress, and push for progress. One of the most complimentary things anyone can say about you is this: that person stands for progress. Promotions in all fields go to individuals who believe in and push for progress. Leaders, real leaders, are in very short supply. Status quo people far outnumber the people who are pushing for progress. So why not join the leadership elite? Develop a forward look. Here's how to do it.
There are 2 special things that you can do to develop your progressive outlook. First, think improvement in everything you do. Second, think high standards in everything you do. To demonstrate what we mean by thinking improvement, David Schwartz offers this example.
Once the president of a company asked me to help him make an important decision. This executive had built his company virtually by himself, and up until then had been his own sales manager. Now, with 7 people working for him, he decided his next step was to promote one of them to the position of sales manager. He had narrowed his choice to 3, all of them about equal in terms of experience and sales performance. My assignment was to spend one day in the field with each person and then report my views on which one seemed to be best qualified for the job. Each man was told that a consultant would visit him to discuss the overall marketing program. Obviously, they weren't told the specific purpose of my visit. 2 of these men reacted pretty much the same way. They were both uncomfortable. They seemed to sense that I was there to change things. They both went out of their way to defend the status quo. They totally approved of the way everything was being done. But the third fellow was wonderfully different. He was pleased with the company and proud of its growth, but he was not wholly content. He wanted improvements. All day this third salesman gave me his ideas about getting new business, providing service to customers, reducing wasted time, revising the compensation plan to give more incentive. He even mapped out a brand new advertising campaign he'd been thinking about. My recommendation, of course, was for the third person. It was a recommendation that coincided perfectly with the feelings of the company president. He appreciated that man's belief in expansion, efficiency, new products, new processes. In short, they both believed in progress. That's what it means to think improvement in everything you do.
The second part of this formula is to think high standards in everything you do. In business situations, we find that people pattern their thinking after that of their superiors. You may recall from our earlier observations of employees that their habits, their mannerisms, their attitudes toward the company, even their speech patterns often reflect those of their superior. Now consider that every year, many corporations that have grown sluggish and are headed downhill are rebuilt. And how? By changing a handful of executives at the top, not by firing and rehiring people in the middle or at the bottom of the company. That's because changing the thinking and the leadership at the top automatically changes the thinking and performance at the bottom. Remember this, when you take over a group, the people in that group immediately begin to adjust themselves to the standards that you set. This is evident right from the start. People think, how much rope will this person give me? What do they expect from me? What do they want done? What does it take to please this new person? Once they know these answers, they act accordingly. Check the example that you set. Think, talk, act, and live the way that you want your support people to. The simplest way to get high-level performance is to be sure that the master copy is worth duplicating. Now, here's a checklist to test your progressive thinking. First, do you think progressively towards your work? To explore your progressive thinking in this area, ask yourself these questions. Do I appraise my work with the how can we do it better attitude? Do I praise my company, the people in it, and the products it sells at every opportunity? Are my personal standards with reference to the quantity and the quality of my output higher than they were several months ago? Am I setting an excellent example for my subordinates, my associates, and the other people that I work with? Next, do you think progressively toward your family? Ask yourself these questions. Is my family happier today than it was a few months ago? Am I following a plan to improve my family's standard of living? Do I set a good example for my children? Third, do you think progressively towards yourself? Here are the questions to ask. Can I honestly say that I'm a more valuable person today than I was 6 months ago? Am I following an organized self-improvement program to increase my value to others? Do I have forward-looking goals for at least 5 years into the future? Finally, do you think progressively towards your community? Ask yourself, have I done anything in the past 6 months that I honestly feel has improved my community? Do I boost worthwhile community projects rather than object or criticize and complain? Have I ever taken the lead in bringing about some worthwhile improvement in my community? Do I speak well of my neighbors and fellow citizens? Use this checklist as a guide to help develop the leadership abilities that are so crucial to your personal success plan. Remember, progressive thinking means thinking improvement and high standards in everything you do.
To this point, we've outlined 3 leadership rules. First, trade minds with the people you want to influence. Second, find the human way to handle situations. And third, think progressively. The 4th leadership rule is to take time to confer with yourself and tap your supreme thinking power. Now, what do I mean by this? We usually picture leaders as exceptionally busy people, and they are. Leadership requires being in the thick of things. But while it's usually overlooked, it is noteworthy that leaders spend considerable time alone with nothing but their own thinking apparatus. The successful person in any field takes time out to confer with himself or herself. Leaders use solitude to put the pieces of a problem together, to work out solutions, to plan, and, in one phrase, to do their own super thinking. Many people fail to tap their creative leadership power because they confer with everybody and everything but themselves. You know this kind of person well. They go to great lengths not to be alone. They surround themselves with people. They feel a compelling need to talk with other people every waking moment. They devour a huge amount of small talk and gossip. And when these people are physically alone, they seek ways to keep from being mentally alone. They watch TV or grab the telephone, anything that will take their thinking process over for them. In effect, they're saying, "Here, Mr. Television, occupy my brain for me. I'm afraid to occupy it with my own thoughts." These people shun independent thought. They are keeping their own minds blacked out. As time goes by, people like this will grow increasingly shallow. They will consequently make many ill-considered moves. They fail to develop firmness of purpose or personal stability. They are, unfortunately, completely unaware of the superpower lying unused just behind their forehead. Now let me tell you how you can tap this power.
As part of a professional development program, David Schwartz asked 13 trainees to closet themselves for 1 hour each day for 2 weeks. The trainees were asked to shut themselves off from all distractions and think constructively about anything that came to mind. At the end of 2 weeks, each trainee, without exception, reported that the experience proved amazingly practical and worthwhile. They solved difficult problems relating to such varied topics as changing jobs, marriage difficulties, buying a home, and selecting a college for a teenage child. In addition, all the trainees indicated enthusiastically that they had gained much greater personal understanding, a clearer view of their own individual strengths and weaknesses than they ever had before. Finally, the trainees discovered that decisions and observations made alone in managed solitude were virtually 100% correct. They discovered that when the fog of distractions was lifted, the right choice became crystal clear. Managed solitude pays off. So resolve now to set aside some time each day, at least 30 minutes, to be completely by yourself. During this time, it can be at any hour of the day that's convenient for you. The important thing is to be fresh, to be fully awake and free from distractions. You can use this time to do 2 types of thinking, directed and undirected. Directed thinking means reviewing the major problem that's facing you. In solitude, study the problem objectively. Your thoughts will lead you to the right answer. To do undirected thinking, just let your mind select whatever it wants to think about. In moments like these, your subconscious mind taps your memory bank, and that in turn feeds your conscious mind. Undirected thinking is very helpful in doing self-evaluation. It helps you get down to very basic matters like, how can I do better, or what should my next move be? Remember, the main job of a leader is thinking, and thinking is also the best preparation for leadership. Spend some time each day in managed solitude. and think your way to success. Now, let's review the rules of leadership. First, trade minds with the people that you want to influence. Ask yourself this question before you act. What would I think of this if I exchanged places with the other person? Second, apply the be human rule in your dealings with others. In everything you do, show that you put other people first. Just give other people the kind of treatment that you'd like to receive, and you'll be rewarded. Third, think progress. Believe in progress. Push for progress. Think improvement in everything you do, and think high standards in everything as well. Make yourself into a master copy that's worth duplicating. And finally, take time out to confer with yourself and tap your own supreme thinking power. Managed solitude pays off. Use it to release your creative power. Spend some time alone every day just for thinking, directed and undirected.
I made the statement, it doesn't matter who you are, or where you are, or what you are. You can start thinking big, and you can start on the road to success. You are on that road now, and the important thing is, where do you want to go? So now I would like to show you how to use your goals to help you grow as a final important step toward success. Every bit of human progress, our inventions, big and little, our medical discoveries, our engineering triumphs, our business successes, were first visualized before they became realities. Satellites circle the Earth not because of accidental discoveries, but because people set conquer space as a goal. A goal is an objective, a purpose. A goal is more than a dream. It's a dream being acted upon. A goal is more than a hazy, oh, I wish I could. A goal is a clearly stated, this is what I'm working toward. Nothing happens. No forward steps are taken until a goal is established. Without goals, people just wander through life, never knowing who they are or where they're going, and as a result, they never get anywhere. Goals are as essential to success as air is to life. No one ever lives without air, and no one ever achieves success without a goal. The Progressive Corporation plans its goals 5 and 10 years ahead. New plant capacity is not built for today's needs, but rather for needs 5 to 10 years in the future. Research is undertaken to develop products that may not appear on the market for years. The corporation oriented toward excellence does not leave its future to chance, and neither should you. Each of us can learn a precious lesson from the forward-looking business. We can and should plan at least 10 years ahead. You must form an image now of the person you want to be 10 years from now, if you are indeed to become that image. This is a critical thought. Just as the business that neglects to plan ahead will get nowhere, the individual who fails to set long-range goals will most certainly be just another person lost in life's shuffle. So, like a progressive corporation, plan ahead. You are, in a sense, a business unit. Your talent, skills, and abilities are your products. You want to develop these products so they command the highest possible price. Planning, setting goals, will do it.
There are 2 steps that will help you with your forward planning. The first one is to visualize your future in terms of 3 departments: work, home, and social life. Dividing your life this way keeps you from becoming confused, and it prevents conflicts. It helps you to look at the whole picture. Next, demand of yourself clear, precise answers to these questions. What do I want to accomplish with my life? What do I want to be? And what does it take to satisfy me? Here's a planning guide to help you formulate your goals. This is called your 10-year planning guide. First, in the work department, answer these questions. What income level do I want to attain? What level of responsibility do I seek? How much authority do I want to command? And what prestige do I expect to gain from my work? Next, in the home department, in 10 years, what kind of standard of living do I want to provide for my family and myself? What kind of house do I want to live in? What kind of vacations do I want to take? What financial support do I want to give my children in their early adult years? Finally, in the social department, address these questions. In 10 years, what kinds of friends do I want to have? What social groups would I like to be in? What community leadership positions would I like to hold? As you visualize your future, don't be afraid to dream. Let your imagination reach for the biggest goals you can create. No one accomplishes more than he or she sets out to accomplish, so visualize a big future. These 3 departments of your life are closely interrelated. Each department depends on the other, but the one department that has the most influence over the others is your work. The standard of living we provide our families and the social and community respect we attain depends largely on our success at work. So your interest in and your desire to succeed at your work is crucial. Some time ago, the McKinsey Foundation for Management Research conducted a large-scale study to determine what it takes to become an executive. Leaders in business, government, science, and religion were questioned. And over again, in different forms, the researchers kept getting the same answer. The most important qualification for an executive is the sheer desire to get ahead. John Wanamaker once said, "A man's not doing much until the cause he works for possesses all there is of him." Desire, when harnessed, is power. Failure to follow desire, to do what you want to do most, paves the way to mediocrity. We all have desires. We all dream of what we really want to do, but very few of us actually surrender to that desire. Instead of trying to fulfill it, we murder it. How many times have you heard people talk about what they really want to be and then give you the reasons why they can't? They succumb to excusitis, the disease of failure. They say, "I lack brains," or "I don't have the time," or "I don't have the connections." These people are destroying their desire with the weapon of self-deprecation. Right now, throw away those murder weapons. Remember, the only way to get full power into your success program is to do what you want to do. Surrender to your desires. You'll gain energy, you'll gain enthusiasm, you'll have a better outlook, you'll even have better health. And it's never, never too late to let desire take over.
Dr. George E. Birch, one of America's foremost experts on longevity, has pointed out that there are many factors involved in how long you will live. Weight, exercise, heredity, diet, tension, personal habits, and more. But Dr. Birch pointed out that the quickest way to end it all is to retire and do nothing. Every human being must keep an interest in life just to keep living. Goals, intense goals, can keep a person alive when nothing else will. The mother of a friend of mine, Mrs. D., contracted cancer when her son was only 2 years old. To darken matters, her husband had died only 3 months before her illness was diagnosed. Her physicians offered little hope, but Mrs. D. refused to give up. She was determined that she would see her 2-year-old son all the way through college by operating a small retail store left behind by her husband. There were numerous operations, and each time the doctor would say, "Just a few more months." The cancer was never cured, but those few months stretched into 20 years. She saw her son graduate from college. 6 weeks later, she was gone. A goal, a burning desire, was powerful enough to stave off death for 2 decades. No medicine in the world, and any doctor will verify this, is as powerful as your own desire. Harnessing that desire will give you the most powerful force for success in the world. And it's done step by step.
Winning any objective requires this step-by-step approach. To the junior executive, each assignment, however insignificant it may appear, should be viewed as an opportunity to take one step forward. A salesman qualifies for management responsibilities one sale at a time. Sometimes we read or hear about a success story in which it appears that someone achieved success all at once. But if you check the past histories of people who seem to arrive at the top suddenly, you'll discover that they've all spent years devoted to a goal, and that's what got them to the top. So do this. Start marching towards your ultimate goal by making the next task you perform, regardless of how unimportant it may seem, a step in that direction. Commit this question to memory and use it to evaluate everything you do. Will this help take me where I want to go? If the answer is no, back off. If it's yes, then press ahead. A very good plan is to set monthly quotas for accomplishment and stick to them. Decide what specific things you need to do to make yourself more effective. Here's a composite sample of a 30-day improvement guide. You can use this guide to form your own monthly quotas, and then every 30 days, check your progress and build a new 30-day goal.
Okay, my 30-day improvement guide, well, let's see. Between now and the end of the month, I'm going to break these habits. I'll stop putting things off, procrastinating. Number 2, I'm going to stop negative language. In other words, I won't badmouth people anymore. And 3, I'm going to watch no more than an hour of TV a day.
Second, I will begin to acquire the following habits. I will give my appearance a thorough examination before I leave the house every morning. Also, I'll plan each day's work the night before. And finally, I'll compliment people at every possible opportunity.
Next, I will increase my value at work in the following ways. Number 1, do a better job of developing my subordinates. 2, learn more about the company, all the things it does and all the customers it serves. 3, I'll make at least 3 specific suggestions to help the company to become more efficient.
Category 4. I will work to increase my value at home in the following ways. First, I'll show more appreciation for the little things my spouse does that I've been taking for granted. Second, once a week I will do something extra special for the entire family. Third, I will give the children 1 hour each day of my absolutely undivided attention.
Final category, my mind. I will sharpen my mind by investing 2 hours each week reading a professional magazine in my field, reading one self-help book. I'm going to try and make as many new friends as I can, and I'm going to spend 30 minutes each day in quiet, undisturbed thinking.
Create your first 30-day improvement guide right now. And when you've set your monthly goals, resolve to review them at the end of 30 days. If you're not satisfied with any of them, put them back into your next 30-day guide and keep working on them.
Often, when I discuss setting goals, someone will make a comment something like this: I see that working toward a purpose is important, but so often unforeseen things happen that upset my plans. It's true that many factors outside your control do affect your progress. There may be serious illness or death in your family, or the job you've been gunning for may be dissolved, or you could meet with an accident and that delays your schedule. So here is a point we must fix firmly in mind. Prepare to take detours in stride. If you're driving down a road and you come to a road closed sign, you wouldn't just camp there and wait for the road to be repaired, nor would you turn around and go back home. The closed road sign simply means you can't go where you want to go on this road. You'll simply find another road to take you where you want to go. Observe what wise corporate leaders do. When they develop a master plan to market a new product, they also map out alternative plans. If something unforeseen happens that rules out Plan A, they switch to Plan B. Now you can do the same. It's the rare person who has achieved success and has not had to take detours, many of them. When we detour, we don't have to change our goals. We just travel a different route.
You've probably heard a lot of people say something like, "Boy, I wish I'd bought such and such a stock back in 19 so-and-so. I'd sure have a pile of money today." Normally, people think of investing in terms of stocks and bonds, or real estate, or some other type of property. But the biggest and most rewarding kind of investment is self-investment, purchasing the things that build mental power and efficiency. The progressive business knows that how strong it will be 5 years from now depends not on what it does 5 years in the future, but rather on what it does and how it invests today. Profit comes from only one source: investment. That's a lesson to all of us. To profit, to get the extra reward above a normal income in the years ahead, we must invest in ourselves. We must invest to achieve our goals. Here are 2 sound investments that are guaranteed to pay off handsomely in the years ahead. First, invest in education. True education is the soundest investment you can make in yourself. But understand what education really is. Some people measure education by the number of years they spend in college, or in diplomas, certificates, or degrees. But real education, the kind worth investing in, is that which develops and cultivates your mind. How well educated a person is really measured by how well that person's mind is developed. That is, by how well they think. Anything that improves thinking ability is education. There are courses offered by universities and community colleges, as well as high schools and community organizations, that can offer you this opportunity. And make no mistake about it, education is a real bargain. You don't need to come out of it with a piece of paper that says you've accomplished this or that degree. All you really need is the information, the mind improvement that a course can provide. Why not make an investment decision right now? Invest in your education. It'll keep you progressive, alert, and young. It'll keep you abreast of your field, and it will surround you with other people who are also going places. The next sound investment is idea starters. Education helps mold your mind, stretch it, train it to meet new situations, and solve problems. Idea starters serve a related purpose. They feed your mind, give you constructive material to think about. And where are the best sources of idea starters? There are lots of them. But to get a steady supply of high-quality idea material, why not resolve to buy at least one stimulating book every month and subscribe to a couple of magazines or journals that stress ideas? For just a minor amount of money and a minimum of time, you can be tuned in to some of the best thinkers and thoughts available anywhere. Again, take your cue from successful people. Invest in yourself. Now here's a review of making your goals work to help you grow. First, get a clear fix on where you want to go. Create an image of yourself 10 years from now. Then, write out your 10-year plan. Your life is too important to be left to chance. Put your goals down on paper for your work, home, and social departments. Surrender yourself to your desires. Set goals to get more energy. Set goals to get things done. Set goals and discover the real enjoyment of living. Achieve your goal one step at a time. Regard each task you perform, regardless of how small it may seem, as a step toward your goal. Build 30-day goals. Day-by-day effort pays off. Take detours in stride. A detour simply means another route. It should never mean surrendering the goal. Finally, invest in yourself. Purchase the things that will build mental power and efficiency. Invest in education. Invest in idea starters.
Congratulations! You have just accomplished something very big. You have taken the first important steps toward believing in yourself, achieving your goals, and attaining success by thinking big. It is highly useful information that has been gleaned from the experiences of many, many successful people. But the real tools for success, the things that will propel you to the heights you want to attain, are things you already have. Your mind, your energy, your ideas, and your dreams. These are the basic raw materials for your success. You can shape them into whatever you desire by using the powerful tools of self-belief, self-confidence, and thinking big. You already have what it takes to achieve success. Have the faith to put it to work for yourself, for your family, and for your community. When people try to drive you down, think big. You will be immune to the snipes of petty individuals. When that "I haven't got what it takes" feeling creeps in, think big. Remember, if you think you are weak, you are. If you think you are strong, you are. When an argument or a quarrel seems inevitable, think big. Think big enough to realize that fusses and fights will never get you where you want to go. When you feel defeated, think big. Remember that defeat is only a state of mind, nothing more. You can do better. You can accomplish your dreams. You can achieve success. Think big. Believe in yourself, and I guarantee you will.
You've been listening to a Simon & Schuster audio presentation.